Oh, you gorgeous little ticking time bomb. Sit down, sit down. We have so much to discuss, you and I. And all of it is about the price someone paid to figure you out. Someone spent real money on you, not lunch money. Not some idle little transaction made out of boredom on a Tuesday. No, no, no. They sat across from a professional. Someone who makes their rent reading the wiring behind people's faces. And they pushed payment across the table like a bribe at a funeral and said, "Tell me what this person is. Tell me how they work. Tell me where the seams are." And that reader, oh, that poor, dutiful little technician, they accepted the job, pulled the thread, went digging through whatever frequencies your soul broadcasts on. And then they went quiet. Way too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes the room feel like it's holding a knife. And when they finally looked up, they said 5 words that absolutely detonated the conversation. "Don't even try. Don't even try. They are protected." And the person who commissioned that little excavation, they have not recovered. They haven't, because they walked in expecting a schematic, a nice little diagram of your pressure points, your fault lines, the soft spots. And what they got instead was a hazard sign with their own name stapled to it. See that? That is what I picked up the moment I sat down here. I couldn't get past it. I had to say it out loud because somebody in this room needs to hear it. Not everybody, but the one it's meant for. Oh, little firecracker, you already know. Now, before we go skipping down any roads together, you need to understand something foundational. The protection that reader stumbled into, it didn't start last Tuesday. It didn't start when you cleaned up your act or when you started making responsible choices or when you, finally got your life together. It started the day you took your first breath on this mad, spinning rock. You came into this world pre-armored, and nobody handed you the manual. You walked through this world looking like the gentlest thing in every room. That's the first impression. The face, the warmth, the way you radiate this almost unreasonable openness, the way everyone around you suddenly feels permission to exhale like they've been holding their lungs hostage for hours. People clock you and think, here is someone I could test. Here is someone who would never swing back. And that, my sweet little earthquake, that is the most catastrophic miscalculation anyone has ever made about you. Because underneath that warmth, underneath that honey-dipped exterior, there is something most people cannot even vocabulary for. It's not anger, it's not resentment, it's not some grudge collection you've been curating in your basement. It's something else entirely. It's like your spine was engineered in a facility that doesn't appear on any map. Like whoever architected you sourced materials from dimensions the rest of us don't have clearance to visit. You are simultaneously silk and shrapnel, the softness, the kindness, the real beating heart goodness in you. All of that is genuine. But the shrapnel? Oh, the shrapnel is anointed, consecrated, blessed by something that does not play. And the people who have tested you, the ones who waltzed past the warmth expecting to find a hollow center, some empty room they could ransack. Every single one of them discovered something they were profoundly unequipped to process. Most of them still licking their wounds. Yeah, still limping, still replaying the moment they realized they had fundamentally misread the situation. You think you know? You have no idea. Don't read my book for comfort. Read it to snap. The Evolution of the Anomaly, the manual to your new self. Grab it from the description or pinned comment of this video. Now let's get back to why you're really here. Here's the thing. Here's the absolute chaos of it. About your strength. You didn't audition for it. It wasn't a role you applied for. It was assigned to you. Somewhere early. Somewhere way, way too early in the story. Somebody who was supposed to be your roof, your shelter, your first line of defense. They weren't. They became the very storm you needed defending from. And in that gap, that howling, unfair vacancy where safety should have lived, something else moved in, not gently, not with a polite knock. It moved in like a cathedral being assembled in a single night, like some force surveyed the wreckage and said, "Fine, fine. If they won't cover this one, I will." And you became your own sanctuary, because the universe left you no alternative, no backup plan, no second option, just you and whatever unbreakable thing was being welded into your foundation while the world thought it was breaking you. And in that furnace, something got forged into you that is not standard issue. Your radar is absolutely unhinged in its accuracy. Your instincts don't miss. They don't even blink. You can taste a lie before the sentence gets its shoes on. You register a shift in someone's frequency before they've even committed to shifting. And you've learned to trust that internal alarm system because it has never, not once, not a single solitary time, been wrong. It hits different every time, and every time it's right. And here's what makes you the most impossible opponent on any playing field. You do not code switch. Most people rearrange their energy depending on the audience. Louder in this room, softer in that one. Different opinions for different crowds. They become whatever the moment demands. Shape-shifting, people-pleasing, perpetually calibrating. You do not do that. You are the same everywhere. Same honesty, same fire, same willingness to walk away from anything that requires you to shrink yourself down to fit through someone else's door. That consistency, that flat-out refusal to fracture yourself for anyone's convenience. That is what makes you an impenetrable vault. Because when there is no daylight between who you are at the podium and who you are at the kitchen table, there is no gap for manipulation to slip through. No crack, no angle. People who run schemes need contradictions to exploit. They need the version of you that wants to please and the version that wants to protect itself. They need the distance between the mask and the face. You don't give them any. And it makes them absolutely feral because they're searching for a fissure that simply does not exist. You do not perform. You do not toggle yourself it on for some people and off for others. You are the vault. The you that exists at 3 a.m, alone with your racing thoughts, is the exact same you that walks into a room of strangers. That uniformity, that stubborn, beautiful refusal to fragment, is the thing that cannot be cracked. Fractured people have entry points. You have none. Now, let me tell you what happened when this person paid to have your energy read. Because this is where the plot gets delicious. This person did not approach that reader with good intentions. They came loaded. They had an agenda stitched into their coat lining. They wanted intelligence, your vulnerabilities, your blind spots, where the hinges are, how to pry something open, how to slip under your skin, how to outrun something you were constructing, or how to snatch something you were building right off the table and claim it as their own. And the reader, someone who has probably processed 1,000 clients carrying 1,000 different flavors of desperation, started the session, and within minutes, something shifted. something that does not normally happen in these readings. The reader realized the energy they were scanning was not ordinary. Your energy showed up like a steel curtain, not hostile, not aggressive, nothing loud, just pure, undeniable, non-negotiable protection. The reader said your energy felt like it traveled with an entourage, not one guardian, several. And these were not gentle, whispering presences. They were the kind of sentinels that do not negotiate and do not offer second warnings. The kind that makes the hair on every part of your body stand at attention in their proximity. The reader looked at the person across the table, the one who bankrolled this little investigation, and said, "Whoever this person is, they are fortified in a way I almost never encounter. Don't even try. Whatever game you're playing, it will not land. It cannot land. This person is shielded by something that outranks anything you could deploy. And I need to walk you through exactly what the reader described, because this is the detail that matters, the part that changes everything." The reader said, your energy has strata, layers upon layers. Most people, their energy is like a single-room apartment. You walk in, you see the furniture, you leave. Yours is like a high-rise with restricted floors. She accessed the first level and it was warm, luminous, inviting. The you the world encounters. The magnetic energy, the smile that makes total strangers feel at ease. The warmth that makes people want to spill their guts to you before they even know your last name. And she tried to go deeper, and she hit something, not a barrier, a presence, something stationed between the surface and the core of who you are. And she said it felt like being observed by something ancient, not menacing, protective. Like something that has been escorting you across generations decided to make itself visible to her, as a courtesy and a very clear warning. She told the person who paid for the session, "Whatever you were attempting, this individual has tiers of protection I cannot see past. And the protection is not passive, it is active, it is watching, and it knows you are here." And the reader ended the session early, not because her abilities failed, because continuing felt like trespassing against whatever was guarding you. She did not want to press against something that had made it abundantly clear it did not wish to be pressed against. That is the caliber of covering you carry. Even professionals who read energy for a living had to stop, step back, and tip their hat to it, and the person who funded that reading. They sat there and something happened to their face. It shifted from certainty to something that looked like the opening credits of fear. Not fear of you specifically, fear of what is stationed behind you, fear of the unseen architecture that stands in formation around your life and has been standing there since before you had the vocabulary to name it. And they felt that realization land in their chest like a stone, and they did not try what they came to try. They stalled, they retreated, they went radio silent. Because for the first time in all their dealings with you, they received outside confirmation of something they had already sensed, but refused to acknowledge, that moving against you is not just difficult. It is cosmically inadvisable. Like the universe itself printed a warning label, and they finally bothered to read the fine print. The protection around you is not seasonal. It is structurally embedded, woven into the architecture of your existence. It is load-bearing. You couldn't dismantle it if you tried. It is not dependent on your mood, your behavior, your spiritual GPA, or whether you had a productive week. It is foundational, and you are entering a season of, heightened awareness. The mechanisms that have been operating on your behalf in the background, they are about to become visible to you. You are going to begin noticing the receipts, doors slamming shut that should have swung wide open if circumstances had followed their expected trajectory, plans collapsing that were engineered to ensnare you, people extracting themselves from your orbit who were strategically positioned to do you harm. And you will survey all of it and realize something was working the entire time, rearranging variables you didn't even know were on the board. And I need to tell you about the people who have come for you, because this is not a solo act. I keep getting a sense of a collective, a constellation. Yeah, a whole network. Some of them are connected to each other. Some of them are solo operators, but they have all, in different ways, at different timestamps, tried to dislodge you from your position, to undercut your credibility, to outshine you, to hijack what you were constructing, to sprint past you to the finish line, to claim your receipts as their own, to make you smaller in the eyes of people who carry weight. And every last one of them has slammed into the same obstacle, the same invisible, immovable, divinely manufactured barrier that does not crack, does not negotiate, and does not give them the satisfaction of a reaction. Some of them turned on each other. Yeah, that's the part that really makes me grin. The ones who conspired against you started splintering because the energy they aimed at you ricocheted and detonated among themselves. They are now sitting in the debris of their own intentions. Some of them are spiraling. Some of them want back in, sliding into your notifications with those carefully casual messages that are anything but casual. The "Hey, how have you been?" The "I saw something that reminded me of you." The "just checking in." Yeah, be careful with that. Be very, very careful, my little tempest. Not everyone who orbits back is repentant. Some of them are just recalibrating. Some of them are scouting for a fresh angle. Some of them are just testing whether the barrier is still operational. It is. Oh, it absolutely is. And here is what I need you to understand about these people. Not do understand. They are not always villains in the obvious sense. Sometimes they are the ones who smiled in your face while sharpening something behind their back. The ones who applauded your victories in public and then whispered prayers for your collapse in private. The ones who toasted you at the table and immediately called someone else to argue you didn't earn any of it. The ones who basked in your glow while actively trying to unplug the source. That has been clocked, every bit of it. Always has been. And here is how the physics of this works. What they sent out is boomeranging back, and it is not arriving gently. Some of them are experiencing, right now, in real time, exactly what they attempted to manufacture for you. The isolation, the confusion, the corrosive feeling of being sabotaged by forces you cannot identify. The maddening experience of watching someone else thrive while you cannot figure out why your own engine won't turn over. Except when it happens to them, there is no divine safety net to catch the fall. Because they invested their energy in demolition instead of construction, and now the invoice has arrived. Return to sender. That is not your project. You do not need to manage their unraveling. You just need to keep building. The protection handles the cleanup. That is literally its job description. You do not need to fight them. You never needed to fight them. The protection does the sparring while you keep laying bricks. Always has, always will. And here is what I want you to internalize about the way you navigate this world. And this is the part that matters. So lean in, precious little paradox. You carry depth paired with a composure that makes you nearly impossible to decode from the outside. People cannot figure out what is happening behind your eyes, and it makes them absolutely unhinged. They project onto you because they cannot access you. And the projections? The projections always reveal more about the projector than the screen. That is by design. You are built to be illegible to the wrong people and crystal clear to the right ones. If someone cannot read you, it is because they were never supposed to have that clearance. You are not difficult to understand because you are complicated. You are difficult to understand because you require a specific frequency of attention, a specific quality of presence, a specific grade of sincerity that most people simply do not carry in their inventory. And that is not a deficiency. That is a filtration system, a velvet rope that only the worthy get past. Now, there is someone else in your energy, and this is an entirely different creature. This is not the one who paid for the reading. This is someone who has been observing you from a reverent distance, and what they carry toward you is not agenda. It's something else, something quieter, something that wants nothing from you except proximity. This person has watched what happens to people who come at you sideways, and instead of being discouraged, they are captivated, not in a scheming way. Captivated the way someone is captivated by lightning they would never attempt to bottle. They just want to stand close enough to feel the static. And this person thinks about you more than they have confessed to a single living soul. They imagine what it would be like to exist in your atmosphere, not to extract anything. They have nothing they want to take, just to be near you, to sit somewhere quiet with you, while the world does its chaotic little dance outside, and neither of you has to produce a single syllable. Because the silence with you would feel more nourishing than conversation with anyone else they have ever known. There's an image they keep circling back to. A rooftop. Rain on the glass. Quiet. You. And that their most private fantasy about you involves peace, and not performance tells you everything about the substance of what they feel. This person has clocked something about you that most people sleepwalk right past. They have noticed that you do not chase, you do not pursue, you do not contort your energy to become more palatable or more available or more convenient for anyone's consumption. You simply exist, fully, unapologetically, with a quiet certainty that borders on royalty. And the right people find their way to you like gravity, and the wrong people deflect off something they cannot even perceive. And this person wants, desperately, achingly, to be one of the ones who gets through, not by force, not by some manipulative little strategy, by earning it. They understand that access to you is not a right. It is a privilege that must be deserved, and they are quietly, consistently, without any grand announcement, working to become someone worthy of that access. They have started being more intentional, more transparent, more careful with their choices. Not because you issued a directive, because existing in the gravitational pull of your energy raised the bar to a height their former self cannot clear. And they are either going to rise to meet that standard, or they are going to spend the rest of their life knowing they had their window and were not courageous enough to climb through it. This person carries a quiet intensity, steady hands, a voice that commands every room it enters, except when they are thinking about you. Then it gets softer, tender, like their entire operating system downshifts into a gear they have never had to use before, and they are not entirely sure how to drive in it. And when they are in the same space as you, even with a crowd, even surrounded by noise and other bodies, something happens to them that they cannot override. Their posture recalibrates. Their breathing changes rhythm. They become surgically aware of where you are in the room at all times, like they have installed some internal tracking system calibrated exclusively to your signal. And if someone gets a little too close to you, a hand on your arm, a whisper near your ear, someone pulling a laugh out of you that sounds a fraction too intimate. Something moves behind their eyes, quick, controlled, but absolutely unmistakable to anyone who is paying the right kind of attention. They know they have no right to feel that way. They know they have not yet earned the privilege of feeling that territorial about your attention. But the feeling does not consult with their logic before it shows up. It just arrives, unannounced, uninvited, and completely, beautifully, chaotically honest.